Yo, what's up guys, hope you guys are doing good. So today we are gonna see, what if Naruto hates Rias and she likes him so much, part 1. So before we start please subscribe to our channel and like this video. So let's get into the video. A soft laugh rang and filled the room. It was intoxicating to listen to. It was hard to believe that he was in this room with them. A soft smile from a beautiful girl. It's almost time, she said. Issei Haidu sat in the corner of the sofa and unfortunately, Kiba sat beside him instead of any of the girls within the room. They all sat on the other large couch or the lavesied. A large coffee table between them, with either a few boxes of lunch or various drinks. Rias Gremory, a stunning girl with red hair, turned toward her friend. She sighed and frowned. Her hand sat atop a short school skirt. She turned her gaze toward her friend. He will be here. The hair was one of her most defining features, along with one of the biggest busts within the school. Despite Issei joining the club, she was still distant. His dreams seemed much closer now, but nothing had changed. His deepest desire to see those wonderful breasts of hers. Trapped in some lacy bra and then finally being released from their constraints for him to witness. Though, he supposed he should keep his head focused on the current problem and the current jitters he felt. Though, thinking about his favorite subject did help with that. They were all gathered here to help their king in a raiding game. The bastard known as Riser Phoenix who was engaged to Ria's lucky asshole. They were to help Ria's escape from that predicament. Tense minutes passed as the clock kept striking. A magical circle appeared and a person stepped out. She was a great gray-haired beauty dressed as a maid. She got his heart beating a little faster and another thing going. Good morning, are you all prepared for the raiding game? Grafia said. She bowed. Almost Rias glanced at the door. We're just missing one more. Who? Issei asked himself. He thought everyone here was all there was to it. The beautiful Akeno, the cute Kaneko, and the innocent Asia. There was still one more person. Who was it? No one else had trained with them, unless she had brought another one last minute. As the time passed, the more Rias clawed at her skirts. Her eyes repeatedly dart between the clock and the door. He will be here. Ria said once again, more to herself than to anyone else. Issei leaned toward Kiba, his words coming out a whisper. Who else are we waiting for? Kiba started, his features forming into a scowl. Whoever it was didn't inspire positive feelings. The other unhelpful knight. He spat. Why do you seem so sure? Akeno asked. You really didn't do that, did you? I think it's been established that it would only work against you. Rias tightened her lips and crossed her arms that accentuated her already impressive bust. No other methods would entice him. What kind of methods did that involve? Issei's mind went into overdrive from that alone. Wait. Issei interrupted, turning the others' attention to him. Who are we talking about? Once again, his question interrupted as to who the mystery knight is. Another magical circle appeared in the room. It made Rias audibly gasp. To think he wouldn't come. This time, even Akeno was displeased. Riser appeared alone this time. The room became pretentious by his appearance alone. A smug smirk appeared on his face. Rias, my dear, let us get this day over with so you may finally be my wife. Before Issei or anyone else could say anything, Grafia decided to intervene. Now, Lady Rias, if you and your peerage are prepared then we will proceed to the destination of the raiding game. Rias looked at the door a final time, as if willing it to be opened. My lady. She was silent, but then her shoulders fell. Yes, I suppose we are ready. As if on command, the door handle rattled and the door opened. Everyone turned to the intrusion. Dressed in the school uniform, it was a guy that Issei knew well. He also wore burnt orange headphones, which Issei recognized as an expensive make. His brows were furrowed and a hard look on his features. He always had the perpetual mean look. Rias let out a relieved sigh. There, now nearly my entire peerage is present. Not like I had much choice. The new arrival frowned. His arms crossed as he shifted his weight. Of all the people that flickered across Issei's thoughts for the identity of the night, the last person was Naruto Uzumaki. The cold blue eyes, the whisker scars, and the bandaged arm. Not to mention the unfading scowl. His tie was never made and always had his top buttons unbuttoned. His headphones only added to how unapproachable Uzumaki seemed to be. By his various deeds, he was also given titles by the populace of the school. The bad boy. Delinquent. Asshole. Or Issei's favorite. The mirror alter ego of Kiba. Dark Kiba. That last one didn't stick sadly, but it was known that Uzumaki did not like it. For some unknown reason that made Issei cry out to the world in unfairness. A few of the ladies of Kuo Academy dug him. Not only that, but the mystery of what was underneath the bandages on his right arm was a debated topic. So, my love, your peerage has grown little. Judging by your efforts, you truly wish to marry me. Do not call me that. I prefer quality over quantity at any rate. Rias replied. Then I shall demonstrate both. Riser replied. Naruto decided to tune in. So, this is what is happening. I think I'm actually glad I came. Issei smiled and almost verbally agreed before he saw the betrayed look on Ria's. Then he remembered how Naruto obtained his infamy. Chapter 1. The sky was a dark red with black clouds that seemed to flow faster than normal. This was their domain, one that belonged to the devils, and they were alone. As he took a deep breath, he reflected that this was his first time in their dimension. "I'm not even supposed to be here," he muttered to no one. They called themselves devils, but they looked like any other person. The only difference was that they had wings. Angels had the same wings too, only with different colored wings. How strange. Not. Naruto met plenty of strange things throughout his life. The physical oddities ranged from disgusting and monstrous-looking individuals in his own dimension. The topic of devils made him aware of his own affliction. A devil that belonged to Rias. He breathed out a deep sigh. Since he was a devil, he had wings too, but they were useless because he could fly without them in the first place. He listened to the music playing in his headphones. Naruto had to admit that there was an abundance of music in this dimension, and far different from the ones back home, it was a companion in these unfamiliar dimensions. The other one where schoolyard gossip seemed to rule. "Uzumaki, are you listening? Uzumaki funny." Naruto hung the headphones around his neck and looked at the group that assembled. He had seen some training during that week and he honestly didn't know what to think of it. He wasn't sure how powerful people were here. "Not even a little bit, no." Naruto replied. It was a lie, but it gave a reaction that he was after. A little disbelief from Rias, with a mix of anger. By Akeno, annoyance and amusement. The others glared at him, except for Issei who was confused. Still, he could see the loyalty from them all that was placed in Rias. All were prepared to give it their all to fight. They all saw her as a friend. Or was it, as a master? Naruto glanced at the battleground of this little raiding game he had been dragged into. Hell was a schoolyard. "You haven't been listening to the plan?" Rias asked. It wasn't a great plan. Did she truly plan on sitting back if she hated this as much as she said it did? She should take complete control. Fight tooth and nail to release herself from this. It only spoke of her empty words to him. If there was one thing he would like to see, it would be to see the look on her face if he immediately forfeited. Probably wouldn't be worth it though, seeing through some device lacked the intimacy if he weren't here to witness. "I have the best seats in the house. I plan on taking it all in." "Why you're not gonna help?" Issei said. Naruto glanced at him. He flinched. He wasn't even trying to be intimidating. "Naruto didn't train with us," Kaneko stated. The most obvious of statements. "How long has he been a part of the peerage?" Issei asked. "I'm right here, you know. The least you can do is ask me yourself," Naruto said. Issei went wide-eyed, his jaw going slack. And it was sometime before school started. Naruto could tell there were some questions on his tongue. Where had he been this entire time? Amongst others that Naruto didn't bother himself with, and nor did he want to play 20 questions. The raiding game will begin in 1 minute. Rias Gremory vs Riser Phoenix. Naruto looked at the landscape. It was a perfect remake of the school, down to the shrubbery and small little details like the blinders in the rooms and the colors of every set of walls and windows. He had to admit that it was a good idea to fight on familiar ground, begrudgingly. According to the raiding game, no one would be killed and would appear in good hands when they were eliminated. "Why won't you help us?" A blonde girl that stood by Issei spoke up. He hadn't seen her before, another new person under Rias. Naruto was surprised that she wasn't the least bit concerned by the pervert. Still, this girl looked awfully innocent with her wide eyes that were somehow filled with betrayal. Okay. He did feel a bit bad for being the cause of that somehow. However, he wasn't about to let just any pair of sad eyes rope him into this. No. Two crestfallen looks from the innocent girl and Rias. The others frowned and looked disappointed. While he didn't particularly enjoy those looks, he did relish in small enjoyment from Rias. "I won't be helping Rias because she's not my friend." Far from it. Kurama stirred within and his voice rumbled in his ear. "This is going to be so predictable it makes me sleepy." "What are you talking about?" he responded. "Don't mind me. I think I'll reminisce about a few of these one day." "Go back to sleep, you ass," Naruto replied. "Smart move, I have to save my brain cells until you smarten up. Do you even have any brain cells? You're made of chakra." "Meh." Kurama said nothing after that. While Naruto did not look in the seal, Kurama would likely observe. This was the only interesting thing that happened in a while. He blinked, realizing that his mind was focused on the conversation. "Asshole," Kaneko stated. Fully unaware of the small exchange he just had with his fluffy but giant friend. "Okay," Naruto muttered. The school seemed so fond of their nicknames, unwanted and awful. There was another name too, even thinking about making his blood boil. Another announcement was made. "The raiding game will now begin." The voice echoed throughout the arena. Yet, no one moved at the moment of the call. They all looked to Rias. She flinched. A word died on her lips and she glared at him. He scoffed, and her hesitation probably affected the others. Start the plan without Uzumaki. The others took a moment to even begin following her orders. Moments ago, they seemed fired up, but as they moved away he noticed their energy had lessened. All because he shared some words with them. Soon, the sounds of battle began in earnest. Explosions rang and echoed, lights flaring in the air. Walls tumblings and glass breaking. A few commands being thrown out. Rias went out on a stroll, and he followed. Rias peeked at him, and he tilted his head as he stared back. Something on my face. I was only doing what I thought was right. Rias said. Only after against my own wishes. So, this is what you've been preparing for. You know, I might have forgiven you if it was something important. It is important. She retorted. He could see a question forming, and he decided to expand on it. Do you? But there's really nothing more. He said. Yet, now, I only feel only more. He grit his teeth. He recalled that almost indescribable feeling. It's not what you think, you were dying. I won't lie and say that you had influenced me a bit, but I couldn't let someone die right before me. An actual reason, instead of all the other things she had said. He scoffed at her and cranked up the volume on his headphones. There was nothing else said between them as the minutes passed. You do know that all the others will think you're protecting me. Other than your peerage you mean? He asked. She nodded and swept a strand of her hair behind her ear. Oh well. Once everyone is down, I do intend on forfeiting. You can't be that cruel. He heard those of Riser's peerage going down, pawns, and other small fry. He still didn't get this thing down, but it was about chess. He did hear that Issei took all of Ria's pawns. He was just a knight. What was up with that anyway? He had little knowledge of the system. The person running at him at full speed wasn't even trying to be stealthy. Fast enough to close their distance. One moment they attacked, and the other he kicked her through several walls. An announcement of retirement. It was then he realized what he'd done. He placed his foot down and frowned. Ugh, damn it. I didn't really mean to do that. Rias just stared at him. It was instinct, think nothing of it. He saw the devils running around, somewhere he heard the walls crumble and more destruction around the school. Devils flew around, flinging around colorful techniques. One devil spat about bombs. 2 weeks isn't enough to teach someone how to fight well. He muttered. Issei isn't that skilled. Rias stared out at the battlefield. Are you just going to stand by and let this happen? I'm being forced into marrying him. This isn't my choice. Naruto glared at her. This is about choice now. What about mine? If I was going to die there, then it was going to be my choice, but you took that away. As if I'd die anyway. Rias Gremory's queen has been eliminated. She turned away, but he still heard the gasp of panic. Rias began to walk, and he trailed her steps. Yet he heard more casualties join the list. Riser, Phoenix's 3 pawns, and Rook have been eliminated. Her head held a little higher, with a spring to her step. Naruto decided to walk a little ahead so he couldn't see her good mood. He wore his headphones and played a song. Thankfully, it was deflated when her Rook was defeated. Naruto drowned out the announcements by putting on his headphones and playing more music. So, he did what he said he would do. Watch. He watched as Rias confronted Riser. Watching, as the innocent girl returned, Issei's dress break somehow worked. Ah well, that was still funny. Plus, he got to see the underwear that the girls wore. Still, it felt a little wrong. The eliminations of all the other pieces. How Issei came to the scene and watched how Rias forfeited her bishop piece to protect her. Until there was the pawn Issei, the great king Rias, and him, the knight. Riser still had his queen and bishop. Naruto sighed as he saw the pervert fighting against Riser. Although he supposed fighting would be a generous term. Whatever training they had all gone through seemed to have garnered little results. Simply put, Issei was getting absolutely dominated. Sure, he was throwing punches and still standing, but he was outclassed. It was painfully clear that he would lose. He didn't give up, despite it. Riser was stronger and more skilled in his hand-to-hand combat. Riser didn't even bother throwing out any of his fire techniques either. He wanted to flaunt how much better he was than Issei. Naruto paid no attention to Rias and her uselessness. Still, what would be the outcome when this ended? Rias, you're pathetic. Naruto said. Her pretty little Riti glanced at him, her eyes wide and glassy. A tear escaped from the corner of her eye before it became more defiant. And what do you think you're doing? Naruto wasn't bothered. He already told her of his own intentions earlier. And you? I've been stuck to your side while your friends fought while you stayed behind and did nothing. She flinched and looked away. Such hypocrisy when someone proclaimed her slaves were her family but neglected didn't fight alongside them. She whined about the unfairness of it all. She trembled, all of her hope crumbling right before her. It was pitiful. She didn't believe in Issei, or herself for that matter. Well, Naruto didn't really believe in them either. He closed his eyes and he thought of his own problems. He kept track of the one-sided trades of fighting. Was that Ria's plan all along? that he would be forced to act in the face of uncertainty in his own fate, that their best interest matched. Other than this devil business, she was just a regular young woman. Almost a civilian, while he lived the life of a shinobi. It was, he sighed. So, have you finally come to a decision? Kurama asked. Behind, inside an open gate lay a friend. A source of hardship in the past. The mountainous fox grinned, a twinkle in his eye like he already knew how it would end. Naruto didn't answer, there was no use in answering a rhetorical question. In the real world, his attention was brought back to the fight. Riser stood over Issei, his foot standing on his chest. Issei's face is purple and swollen. Blood trailed from his cracked lips. Admit defeat already, you're quite boring. Riser said. No, I can't. Issei replied. His eyes were puffy and purple. Had to give him that, he at least tried. Naruto let out a breath, he had to relent that it was easier to envision a future with Rias alone. Not to mention that Riser was a prick and that put him at risk, it made his decision easier to handle. Looking at the bright side of things, at least he would hand what Riser deserved. His attitude needed some work. He wished to pawn plenty of things upon Rias, and none of them well. Rias could shackle him, lock a great deal of things away. However, she could only go so far. He still had his heart, his own views and beliefs, and those he could never take away. Naruto stepped forward and passed the crumpled form of Rias. Her gaze trailed up to meet her eyes. Glazed with tears, but they turned deviant when they met his own. It, however, only worked against his previous thoughts. Unless she was a better actor than he gave her credit for. You have some luck, Rias, unfortunately. He ignored whatever expression that Rias had in favor of pouring his attention on Riser. Leave him alone already. He yelled. Riser turned to him, his eyes narrowed. Your battle is with me. Issei climbed to his knees, but he could barely stay steady. He even found the will to even shout at him. Uzumaki. These formalities weren't a thing back home. Whatever words he might have said were interrupted when Riser kneed him in the face. Dispose of him, my queen, would you? Riser Phoenix turned his attention to him. Naruto resisted the urge to move in and save Issei. He didn't want Rias to suddenly mess up his generosity, so she would stay behind him if he could help it. If she went down, then it was over. Besides, Issei would be fine. What was power if you weren't able to properly wield it? Naruto found that out the hard way. It wasn't dependable. Riser strode forward toward Naruto. A small explosion popped into the air and an announcement made its way towards Naruto's ears. Rias Gremory's pawn has retired. Someone spoke from within him. Kurama rested a hand against his cheek. Almost lazily, wonder what kind of limitation these games have, looks fun. Beat the shit out of each other so hard and you're fine in the end. Their talks always happened within and no one would be privy that he might be having a conversation. Sometimes he might space out, but he could carry on other tasks. Kurama continued to speak. Still, I always knew you'd step in eventually. Oh yeah? Naruto said. He could almost sigh, he only found out just now. What did Kurama see, and he could not? I've always found it funny that you now have a jailer too. Kurama replied, laughing. Now that's ironic. Shut up, will you? Naruto replied. He heard the loud laughs from the fox. Bastard. Riser was yapping when turned his attention back to him. This raiding game was a waste of my time, you should have realized this, my lovely Rias. Riser said. Shut up, don't call me that. She spat with her teeth bared. My, is your knight giving back your courage? Riser replied. I've been known to have that effect. Naruto said, he shrugged. Turns out you're not as bright as I hoped, despite how little intellect it requires to see how foolish it is to face me. Naruto laughed. Kurama of course found this hilarious, but he could tell for a different reason. Naruto could hear the deep rumble of his laugh inside his mind. Although, it was probably twofold. At the insult and at the fact that Riser didn't have a clue as to what was about to happen. Naruto hoped it was the former. Naruto dropped into a stance. It had been a little while since he had fought, but it wasn't easy to forget his lifestyle. He felt his anger funnel into concentration to pluck Riser's feathers. Then, I suppose another example must be set. Riser replied. Little meaningless taunts. Show him what the Phoenix can do, Riser. Another girl that resembled Riser said. As much as he wished could fight along to a funny song that came on, he put his headphones aside. Riser shot forward. So slow that he could dance around him. He exchanged some quick blows. His form was good, but his speed was severely lacking. Naruto connected a fist to his stomach and Riser staggered back but was quick to retaliate and fire another punch. Naruto's left arm grappled him with Riser's and his free hand crossed with his. Naruto heard Riser's grunting as he tried to overpower him. Naruto pushed him back a step and another. He smiled at Riser, who only glared back with his teeth bared. Riser's arm glowed aflame. The heat flared upon his hand, rising with each second and alone with his strength. Naruto wanted to show Rias an example of how she was wrong. that there wasn't any need of turning him into a devil for him to live. He felt the searing pain in his arm and he grunted as he tried to crush Riser's arm. It was enough that Riser let go of his right hand. Quickly raising his free fist, he brought it down on the pretty boy's face. It was an immediate improvement to his looks in Naruto's generous opinion. Only improved further when his fist met Riser's face twice more in quick succession. His onslaught was enough to bring Riser to the ground. Naruto wasn't done yet, he would be unrelenting. Crashing his fist against his face, over and over again. Yet, before he could make his signature move, he was interrupted. A small fireball separated him off Riser. It was enough to send him some meters off before he recovered. Naruto was granted no reprieve as a small bolt of energy was sent at him. He jumped out of the way and an explosion erupted. Pieces of debris swept by and he shields his face. His power burst forward of his friend and his own. He would display just how far beyond he was compared to Riser. Plumes of smoke and dirt shot up between them. He decided that the smoke worked in his favor. He dove into the ground to traverse towards where the other two girls that attacked him. Where did he go? One of them asked. The blonde devil with her back facing him. The other one was in the air, one the Rias called the Bomb Queen. He burst from the dirt and into the air, he latched onto the flying devil's ankles. She let out a yelp of surprise. He gripped her tightly and with his strength he whipped her down and swung below. She crashed against the pavement of the schoolyard. The earth and concrete let out a loud crack. Yet, he was not finished. A formed in his hand as he dove to where the Bomb Queen lay. Riser's queen has retired. He didn't stop there as he turned his attention to the other girl. He sped towards her and she held out her arms and closed her eyes. No wait. He didn't and his attack lasted only moments. The last piece retired and Naruto returned to his protective position in front of Rias. Riser finally stood from where he had been brought down. Let's get that forfeit out of that mouth of yours. Riser tried to stand, his limbs shaking as he did so. His face bruised but it quickly went back to normal. A scowl and fierce eyes. Yet, Naruto would not give his opponent reprieve. Naruto appeared right before him. Riser's eyes widened. Naruto's hand tightly clutched his shoulder. Just wanted to resume from where we left off. A massive force formed in his hand as he held him in place. Naruto didn't even wait for him to reply as he planted his technique in his stomach. He was flung over a bench, whipping around as he skied across the grass and walkways and through a fence. Once he stopped, he shakingly stood up. Gashes, scratches, and even a twisting blister wound on his stomach. They slowly pieced together and healed. Riser clutched at his stomach, his teeth grit together. Naruto grinned at the state of his distress. What you did to say will be turned on you. Let's see how far that regeneration powers of yours goes, yeah. Naruto felt power encase him. Whatever words that Riser might have said was lost on him. Naruto no longer had any interest in it anymore. As a sentence spilled from his lips, Naruto closed the distance and broke his teeth. Blood sputtered out from his mouth. Not yet finished, he punched him in the nose and he heard a crack. Riser seemed to love his own looks. He screamed, but to give credit, Riser tried to fight back. He swung his fists, fire engulfing them. A feeble attempt. Naruto almost felt bad, but the cruelty he'd shown to Issei pushed that feeling down. He parried any physical blows and deflected any fire techniques. The surroundings were soon lit aflame, the red flames matched the sky above. Come on now, I thought you would give me a better fight. Naruto taunted. Any attempts at power were overpowered. Try as Riser did, but it ended up with him laying face down in the dirt. He dragged his head through it. It was then Naruto felt he truly channeled his asshole Rai. Perhaps all those mean-spirited words of the school truly affected him. It was nice to let loose at someone other than Rias. Maybe I have become an asshole, Naruto mused. He sat atop Riser, still not giving up, yeah. Do I really have to use some more drastic measures? How about lava? How much would that hurt you? Would you come out from the ashes like an actual phoenix? Do you lie? He sputtered out, dirt bursting from his breaths. Why can't I move? A seal and I'm not. This fight was boring and you're just pathetic. Naruto replied. A yellow orb appeared in his hand, he poured the required chakra into it. His technique began to glow red and hot like lava in his own hand. It wasn't long before Riser finally forfeited. If only good things could last. Naruto turned to the king and ruler of his life. Rias Gremory, the red-haired senior of high school. She sat, slack-jawed in bewilderment. You won. Rias replied. Naruto stared. I honestly didn't do this for you at all. The habit of going to school bored him. Taking a short ride on a packed train where he could barely find a seat with how crowded it was. Rias practically clung to him whenever they rode it. Often though, they would usually separate after it. Not this time though. Breaking that monotony in their daily commute seemed a challenge. As in these times he always accompanied Rias. To distract him from that fact he needed ways to entertain himself. Listening to music, reading a book, or creating simple games. One such game would be to just practice his balance. Swinging one foot and landing another foot on the dividing lines of the sidewalks. A dumb game, but it was enough. Apparently, his slow speed was not enough to deter her. Naruto increased his pace, which made Rias do the same and kept a steady handful of steps between them. When he slowed the pace, she did the same. Yet, kept it up despite slowing to a crawl. His own slow gait annoyed even himself and heaved a mighty sigh. "Okay, what do you want, Rias?" Naruto asked. He swept his hair back, which also knocked his headphones back to hang around his neck. "We already spend enough time with each other." She looked so smug with herself when he started their conversation. She matched his pace as she walked up beside him. She tried to stop her smile, but she gave up. "I want to thank you. You've already thanked me enough, it's annoying." Naruto continued his hops or skipping, whatever you wanted to call it. "Because of you, I'm no longer engaged to Riser Phoenix." "Well yeah, obviously." Rias straightened her uniform and swiped a strand of hair out of her eyes. "Well, I also wanted to ask as to why you did it." He groaned. Naruto noticed a couple of students ahead of them running to school. He stopped, if only to irritate Rias that they were going to be late. He checked his phone for the time and found they were going to be late if they kept his pace. Yet, Rias stayed with him. Patient and uncaring even as she checked the clock. Perhaps she would crack, and so he continued his caterpillar walk and maybe even took a detour. "It's not because I felt sorry, so you're out of luck if you're looking for that," Naruto replied. Rias stayed silent and so felt compelled to continue. "I did it because I wouldn't know what the hell would happen to me. You already know my problem, otherwise, I would've." "Well, you've seen it." "I see," she replied. Rias stared straight ahead, a frown formed on her lips. She seemed disappointed with his answer. "What did you think it was?" "You already know my feelings about you, they haven't changed at all." Her expression changed, her features were set and she met his eyes. "Why hasn't that changed?" He laughed. "That's a stupid question to ask. In fact, why should I even answer?" Ria's chest puffed and her fists clenched. Her sense of pride welling up in defiance. "I tried." She bit her bottom lip, cutting herself off. She heaved a large sigh but said nothing more. Naruto resisted a sigh. Being here for so long was wearing him down. "I suppose I never tried, did I?" He rolled his eyes. "You're late to class." "That's fine." Despite their late attendance in their first class, a lame excuse from Rias to their teacher was all it took to be forgiven. He rolled his eyes and went to his desk. He leaned back on his chair and paid no attention to the teacher's lesson. Why was Rias so adamant on bringing him here? Enrolling him here to act like a student? He did no work, he did not listen. If he did then it was mostly for entertainment purposes. They were not relevant to his field in any shape or form. Because he did not complete assignments, Rias or one of her peers did his work for him to stay in school. However, exams were impossible for them to do, so he was near the bottom of the class. It annoyed Rias, which was the most important thing. The day passed along, and sadly without music to listen to. He'd rather not have it taken again. It was lunch now, with an absent Rias. A huge plus. Naruto sat on a bench in a hallway. He paid no attention to his surroundings, instead focusing on the music being played. There were no lyrics, but he enjoyed the sounds it made. They called it electronic music, but he had no idea of the subgenre. Someone called his name, and again. Then it was repeated, and Naruto finally decided to get it over with. He turned to see the brown mop of hair that belonged to Issei. "What's up?" Naruto remembered the hole in his belly as Rias worked on him in the middle of the park. He wished he weren't there to witness that kind of thing again. Those fucking chess pieces was just a grim reminder. Issei looked surprised. You're not going to beat my ass." "Why would I do that?" "Because others say so." "Well yeah." Issei shrugged. "You also did beat up a couple of those guys for some reason." "I was just defending myself." Issei looked round the hallway, it wasn't private. Some people littered the halls, but they were engaged in their own conversation. "Can we talk?" "Why not?" Naruto replied, he wasn't doing anything. Issei led the way, down the hall, and up the steps until they were up on the rooftops of the school. There was the sight of the large buildings of the city. Naruto leaned on the railing as he turned to look at Issei. "What do you need anyway?" Issei gazed intently as he thrust himself to his knees. "How are you so close to Butchu?" he pleaded. "I just want to see her beautiful breasts." "Gross ugh, you got it the wrong way buddy. I hate her if you don't seem to recall. Except you're able to talk to her, well I'm barely able to get a sentence out of her pretty lips. You must assist me." Issei shot up from his knees and grabbed him by his arms. A crazy glazed look in his eyes. Not only that, it wasn't a question. It was kinda disturbing. "Don't touch me. I don't know where those hands have been in the last hour," Naruto replied. "Or will be soon after this conversation judging by his comments." He dusted where his hands had touched for good measure. Sorry, senpai. Damn, why are you guys so formal? Naruto said. What was so bad about calling people about their first names? His question was ignored. I just want to grow closer to her and yeah, you've established that. Why not just talk to Akeno and see what Rias likes then? They're pretty close. Impossible. The same problem comes up with her too. Naruto sighed. You gotta be kidding me. Two of the great ladies and both their breasts are so big and I wonder how they look every day, especially if I could compare them side by side. That's the dream. An image that left him conflicted. I'll tell you right now that there's a lot of animosity between Rias and I. So you're shit out of luck with me helping. As for Akeno, I think I'll just keep that to myself. You selfish bastard. He laughed. I'm a man too, you know. Then you're my rival. What? I thought you were. Naruto felt the world darken, like a spotlight was affixed on his person. Blinded, and the rest of the world was cast in darkness. His chest locked up, breathing deep made his chest hurt. A shudder ran through his spine, it trailed like a dark hand up his spine. It was suffocating. His limbs began to weaken, trembling, as he tried to remember how to breathe. He collapsed to a knee, a cold sweat ran through his body. He could not breathe in air. It was like his entire body locked together, it hurt to try and move. Hey. What's wrong? You went pale like you're dying or something. Issei said. His voice sounded distant and barely registered. Do you think so? Naruto asked. Or rather, he probably thought it. No matter, all he had to do was focus on one thing. He sensed the seal that Rias kept on her person. Thankfully, it was close by and it was easy to find. All he could focus on was the seeming never-ending sensation of dread. Never mind his surroundings. As time passed, he began to take note of himself. His vision was blurred. Gradually, he felt his limbs relax. He gasped for air, like he forgot how to breathe, it came out in gasps. His heartbeat was slow but felt like it was trying to burst through his chest. It was frighteningly easy to envision that. His chest and ribs popping away, his limbs and bones popping and expanding with blood gushing through. Alright, maybe enough of his imagination, he thought. The headphones on his head were silent. His hands were on some slick wet surface. He was drenched head to toe, no wonder it was easy to imagine. Droplets fell from his hair as they hit the surface. One of his only thoughts was how his headset was wrecked. How did he get wet? He noticed the bare feet by his side. Someone was rubbing his back. Red soaked hair at the corners of his vision. Soft bare skin, droplets of water falling down her long legs. Are you alright? She asked with a soft, concerned voice. No. Why did she have to be showering? Her skin looked so soft and wet. It was her long red hair that seemed a curtain to the more intimate parts of her body. Fuck. You gotta be kidding me. He almost stumbled trying to look away. He expected to be hit, trashed around the room. He would let it happen, even if he didn't mean for it. However, it was not to be as he expected. Do you need help with anything? She asked. What he felt was another kind of pain. It was like his body was going against him. All this seemed was another false layer of concern. I need you to put on a damn towel. What's the matter with you? Where's your dignity? Bathroom peeking wasn't something he wanted to carry around to his name again. Yet that hand was still rubbing his back. If you're certain you're okay. She said. Yes, I am. He spat. It was a great relief when the pressure on his back disappeared. Who takes a shower anyway at an abandoned building? It calms me. She said normally, no sign of distress that he expected. He felt pathetic. Especially being like this in front of her. Naruto heard clothing being ruffled before it stopped. I'm dressed. Naruto looked up. Rias was dressed this time, garbed in the school uniform. Her long red hair was damp. Naruto stood up, he almost felt normal again. Like that entire episode hadn't happened at all. You're wet. She said, saying you two felt wrong, but that was the only response that came to his head. It continually flashes, damn it. Now he had an image in his head. Naruto took off a school jacket and wrung it, and he did the same to his shirt. He didn't talk to her, only focusing on his actions before he left the room. Naruto discarded the headphones into the nearest trash can. The Keno was outside holding a tray of treats. Her eyes widened at them as a little smirk appeared. Her eyes trailed down to his chest. Ah, having showers with Butchu now. Did she want to show you her thanks? Shut. Naruto muttered as she gave a little giggle. He could not stop his cheeks from heating up. Something that only made her laugh. Puddles were formed underneath him as he took his shoes and socks. Fuck these shoes and socks, he'd rather have his sandals. Naruto checked the phone he was given, it wasn't wet and it looked to be still working. He threw his jacket and shirt over the heater. He had some fire techniques, but he'd just end up ruining them. You're getting naked. Our relationship is going fast, not that I don't enjoy it. Akeno replied. Her hand placed on her cheek as her eyes scanned him over. Having girls fawning over him was nothing new to him, especially with a large influx of visitors to the Hidden Leaf. Naruto didn't say anything, but he still felt his cheeks heat up against his will. Akeno was an attractive lady, and that teasing smile almost made him not want to look at it. Those breasts were something else, perhaps. Like Rias entered the room not long afterwards, her hair fully dried this time. "Are you sure you're okay?" she asked. Naruto only returned a curt nod. He sat on a chair and decided to have one of the snacks that Akeno had made. Trying to ignore everyone and the pure shame he felt. Maybe he should have left. It was hard to shake the images just prior, and now one thing would always pop into his mind whenever he would think about Rias. That she wasn't just some cold, dumb, malicious demon devil or whatever they call themselves. A hot young woman would always trail after it or before it. Fuck. He felt true despair. Why did that have to happen? "Oh, shut up already," Kurama yelled. "How much longer will you keep groaning? You know what? I think I like this torture you're experiencing." He appeared calm and focused, but within he was writhing. He was brought out of his thoughts when the front of the door slammed open. Issei spilled on through, his eyes wide and filled with panic. Rushing over to Rias, his words came out in a rush. He was breathless. Uzumaki disappeared. "I dunno what the hell happened, but 1 second he was there and the other he just popped away. We need to." Issei froze as his eyes finally saw everyone else with him. Akeno and himself, eyes went down to his half-naked form. "Senpai. Yo." Naruto grimaced. It had to get bad. Issei regarded them all. Each of them one by one for several moments before it stopped on Naruto. The panic was replaced by a sense of distress. The eyes spoke of betrayal and his lips trembled. "Why are you naked? You were about to get it on with them, aren't you?" Suddenly he wept and bolted out the door. "You dumbus." Naruto eyed Rias. "That perv is in your peerage." She heaved a sigh. "I know. Rias." She flinched. "Since we're talking, I'd like to keep those exchanges low on the daily. What would you think if a teacher caught me out in the halls half naked? You think they would suspend me?" Akeno had her chin in the palm of her hand, staring intently. "No. Detention perhaps." "Ah, so what if I flash some people, what about then?" he declared. "You'll do no such thing." Scandalized, with her mouth hanging and head shaking in disapproval. Akeno laughed. "We'll just go home for today." "What? Really?" Akeno giggled again. "Are we corrupted by Uzumaki-kun?" Rias stuttered. Well, you don't have any spare clothing here in any case." "Oh, so we're ditching the rest of classes." "Whatever." This worked fine for him, Rias would have to be near him in any case. "Let's go then," he said. Naruto stood and gathered his belongings. Still heavily damp from his shower. The glowing seal appeared below her feet and he stepped beside. It was an interesting application. 1 moment later, they appeared in a rather large apartment in the city. As the world turned upside down with Rias skipping class. Rias said nothing, her only response being a crooked pout and crossing her arms. He stretched and went to his own room to change his clothes, a plain orange t-shirt and some joggers. Ah, comfortable stuff. He passed by Ria's room, which was always closed, no exceptions. To his surprise, Rias sat in the living room on the lavesied. He debated on leaving, but it felt like she would win. He sat on the big couch for himself. He wanted to watch some television, so he found the remote and switched it on. It wouldn't be a quiet thing like he hoped. "How far were you when that happened?" she asked. He glanced at her, eyes narrowed, and wondered what her aim was. Thoughts filtered through his mind, but nothing came up. He returned to his show. The other side of the school, on one of the balconies. Her brow furrowed and went deep into thought for a long while. Thankfully, it was a nice pause as he delved into his show. "I'm worried about you." "Oh yeah?" He rolled his eyes. "That process should have ended long ago or shouldn't happen the way it is. None of it makes any sort of sense." "Sure." Naruto said. Rias shook her head. "No. I'm serious. That strength you showed in your fight against Riser really shouldn't be possible with the limitations with the devil pieces. Do you remember what happened with all my pawns?" He decided to humor her, if only to close the conversation. "Right, I can't really forget what happened to me. It took all your pawns, right?" She nodded. "Yes, but you took only a knight. As you can see, Haidu's potential hasn't been fully realized. Yet, you haven't trained at all, correct? Yet you're far more powerful." "Whatever." He replied. "What's your point?" She frowned. "Whatever the extent of your power, it shouldn't be able to be contained by one night piece, even compared to how you faced Riser." The conversation brought up the topic of strays. There were plenty of ways he did not want to die, turning into a stray was on that list. How they deformed into a twisted creature with a crazed mind. "Whatever. It's not your problem." "Except it is." She replied. "I'll ask my brother if he's ever seen something like this. If he doesn't have the solution, then I'll ask the person who made these pieces. They should be able to figure out what's wrong with you." Naruto stared at her, but she paid no attention to him. She looked rather deep in thought. I'll believe it when it happens. That piece inside him was similar to Kurama in a way. A seal. It integrated inside him, and if it broke it would probably kill him judging by his research. Can I ask something? Rias asked. You just did. He chuckled at his overused joke. Was he the first one to think of this comeback? She smiled for some strange reason that he couldn't guess. He sighed, go ahead. This thing on my arm lets you teleport to me? Rias said. She mentioned her shoulder. Yeah. He had asked, and she had said she would do it if it would help him stop being an ass. Though, in her own words, have you always known how to fight? That was more than one thing, but he answered anyway, of course. I have to be good at it. Oh, and why is that? He turned to her, and she peered back. He shook his head, and she tilted her head to the side. An almost sly smile. He rolled his eyes, and turned to the TV. They watched more of the television before another thought entered his head. Rias, you should get me another pair of headphones. He didn't ask, because that would be too nice. She frowned, and her cheeks puffed, but her expression changed, as a smile appeared. Only if you do well for our exam tomorrow. There's an exam tomorrow? Naruto said. She gave a matter-of-fact nod, as she once again crossed her arms that accentuated her already large bust. Damn, he almost saw them bare. There is. Rias was peeved. So, do you agree? Naruto briefly thought about it. It would be some work, but he hadn't done anything meaningful since he had arrived here. I will if it's a good set. Then it was her turn to think. Her lips changed in a variety of expressions. If you get an A. Fine. He felt like he was bartering with a parent, truly pathetic. She had all the money, she had all the power over him. She could practically teleport away, and he would be a goner. Ria smiled, great. There's a lot we have to study for Uzumaki. She looked so giddy, he could see the mental note-taking and filing she was doing in her head. That time spent in hell was already enough for him. Right, I'm not going to study. But you can't get that good of a score without studying, and you never study. Very true. He replied. But I won't study with you. Ria stared for a long minute. Then if I win, you wouldn't mind if I add that you would spend the weekend with me doing anything that I want. He almost laughed. Okay, sure. She went back to her seat but stared at him for a while. Eventually he was able to tune her out when she started to do other things. Her phone and giggles, homework on the coffee table, and then simply watching the shows with him. Naruto felt his mood in life when she was silent. Then, of course she had to ruin the whole thing again after all that time. Thank you again. Even if you said you did it only for yourself. I don't think I've ever met someone who wanted to thank me as much as you. Naruto focused on the paper in front of him. He looked at the writing on the board of instructions. He heard the taps and scratches of pens and pencils in the room. He laid back in his chair before a fresh memory popped in his head that told him the answer. He quickly wrote down the answer before leaning back in his chair. Ah. Shadow clones. So, useful for cheating answers for his paper. He sat near the windows and edged his paper so that his clones could see the questions. One clone had seen all the answers, which had given the information to be written. Now all they had to do is pop after finding the answer and he would write it. Naruto would have welcomed being kicked out. But Rias wanted him in this school. It made things harder for Rias seeing as she was so insistent on him being here. She also solved a problem when it came to tests that he refused to do. Naruto had to give her credit for this one. A temporary one. Naruto was the first one to finish during the exam, even being faster than the vigilant Rias and Akeno. The teacher eyed him, a look of expectation on her face that he was about to destroy. The teacher took his paper, and a look of disbelief crossed her face as she took a quick look through the pages. Surprising, but I hope you continue, Mr. Uzumaki. I'm only doing this so I can get something in return. He was stared at. Then I hope these incentives keep coming. Naruto took a seat back on his chair and doodled random things in his notebook. That was his entire book, as there was no reason to take notes. Some people thought there was someone doing his homework for him. They would be right because Rias did. This test would be all him. He cheated, but it was still him. The ring of the bell sounded, signaling the end of class. Chairs being pulled back were heard, and some excited chatter between students were heard. He waited, his gaze locked outside the window. The sound of a container settled on his desk, and Naruto looked at the perpetrator. Rias? Naruto muttered. Some murmurs were said about how rude he was, among other things. Even if he only said her name without some honorifics attached to her last name. The girl herself was smiling. She swept stray hairs away from her face. This is for you, seeing as you finished first. Naruto peered at the object on his desk. It was a box, a bento. I've already made my lunch if you didn't forget. She was still smiling. Naruto kinda wanted to wipe it off her face somehow, nothing came to mind however. Cold. Kurama commented. Naruto noticed that the fox wasn't the only one saying something. The civilians here were very loud. Why is she giving him lunch? Is she into Uzumaki-senpai too? Rias said, I know, but I thought you might appreciate something better prepared. True. He was tired of the same sandwiches. He took the bento box. Not mad that I finished first. Well, it remains to be seen if you've accomplished our bet. Then he heard the comments of how much of an asshole he was. With Ria's bento in hand he made his way towards the cafeteria to eat. It was lunchtime, so other students were on their way to it as well. Or if not, into town or somewhere else on the school grounds to eat in private. When he made it to the cafeteria he sat down on a table and began to eat. As he put the food into his mouth, it exploded with flavor. Why did it have to be that way? He stuffed it into his face because it was that delicious. He had expected another ordinary day today. But when Issei sat down across from him that was wiped off the table. That was okay, he'd much rather have that happen. He had no headphones, he had no music. That might have made him more approachable. It also deterred Rias from speaking to him and it helped drown out the sound of her voice. Senpai, can I talk to you? Naruto's brow twitched, he wondered what he wanted this time. Sure, why not? Issei took a quick look around to make sure no one was listening in. While some people curiously looked in their direction, the drown of the crowd was loud enough that people wouldn't hear them. Are you a boob man or an ass man? I thought this would be important. Of course it is. He laughed, but he shrugged. I guess a boob man. There was a flash in his eyes, like this was something that Issei was experienced in talking about. Not the experience part, but the talking part. Big ones. I don't know any size is good. They're just really nice to look at, okay. Why were they talking about this? If you're not going to talk about anything else I'm just going to leave. Ah, sorry. I just didn't know where to start with you. I, was wondering how long you were a devil. That was better. Having friends that talked about nothing about girls must have done that. About some time before school, maybe a month or two after it started, I've been stuck with Rias ever since. So, you were normal before then? He asked. I was normal. Naruto replied. Though, their definition of normal was different. He wasn't from this dimension after all. Perhaps Rias had a suspicion about, or at least with his abnormal status. There's one other thing I want to know, it's the reason why I wanted to talk to you in the first place. Issei said. Naruto waited, there was a steely resolve in his eyes. Why were you walking with Butchu yesterday? You said you hated her. He didn't know why he expected something else. We live together, and she walks with me. You live with her. Senpai, why are you so lucky? Issei said he looked emotional with his head buried into the table and his arms covering his head. He mumbled others things like how he had spent a lot of time alone with her. Luck. It was obvious from this conversation that Issei didn't share a mutual dislike for Rias. Issei was turned into a devil because he got stabbed in the gut and because he carried something he called a scared gear or metal gear. A weapon to something like a weapon anyway. Naruto appeared within the confines of his seal, the visage of Kurama appeared when he went deeper. Naruto gave a smile. He had no hard feelings towards Kurama. Hey, that sounds so familiar, I wonder why. Hope it's not evil and don't try to escape. Kurama gave a blank stare, like he was unimpressed. Disgusted. Go enjoy your bento Rias gave you. Bastard. Naruto focused back in the real world as he ate the last remaining remnants of his food. Issei continued to talk. Senpai, since you hate Butchu, switch with me. Then she'll come to me when she's all lonely. Naruto laughed, oh wait, you're serious. Besides, it's not by choice and I think I hit my daily limit of Issei today if you keep talking like that. What do you mean not by choice? Naruto threw the box into the nearest trash can. Somewhere across the cafeteria. Look, you don't have to deal with this stray devil crap that you've seen in your first outing. I do, alright. I have to worry about that every time, so that means I have been in contact with a person who made me like this every second. He had seen some of Issei's training during Golden Week. Naruto had done plenty of his things, but he was mostly restricted to around that area. He trained on his own, but it was done to hone his own shinobi skills. Try as he might to control the energy Rias had graciously given him, it was very difficult. Is it that bad? Look how far I was from her the other day, I can't be more than a city's distance away at most. Naruto replied. That's what happened? Issei asked, and he nodded. I'm glad you're okay. I am too. They were quiet for a while, as he dug into the rest of his lunch. It was so much better than the packed lunches or the cafeteria selection. An excited expression appeared on Issei's face. Senpai, when that huge orb appeared in your hand it was so cool. Issei replied. Look at that, he wasn't all girls and boobs in his head after all. Can you teach me that? Thanks, and no I can't. They continued to talk, Issei was alright if he wasn't talking about girls all the time. Before long, the bell rung. He might, as well, go to his next class and sit in there and do nothing again. Because apparently, he could not even leave school without his condition acting up. Naruto didn't think about whatever dirty thoughts Issei had about Rias. However, Akeno was a different story. Heh, she was an attractive gal. Once his conversation was done with Issei, he continued with his day in classes. The sad thing about being a senior was that he was in most of Ria's classes. Ugh, why did he always have a seat near her? You look confident. She said. Rias was seated behind him. You might as well hand over the money. He replied. The teacher was going over the examination rules and expectations. Only when we get our marks back. Ugh. Naruto groaned. He had to wait an entire week for that. He stopped talking to her, despite her speaking more. He heard whispers from the others looking onto this spectacle. They were trying to be quiet about it, but he could hear every word. All about how one of the two great ladies of Kuo was talking to him. Of course, he had been openly hostile to her since he had been here. Being an ass to Rias was apparently sacrilege. She's talking to him again. But, he's an asshole. That's why she's so great, always nice to everyone. No wonder everyone loves her. Praise for her and shit talking to him. Though sometimes there were positive comments about him. His looks and even what the bandages on his arms hid. Some said the sleeve of his arm was covered in tattoos, others said that he possessed a burn injury. There were always conspiracies about what was hidden underneath his arm, like how the tattoos signified he was a part of some organized crime. They were some truly weird shit that they came up with. She's trying to melt that cold emotionless heart of his. Naruto threw a piece of eraser at the person who said that. He was not cold and he was not emotionless. He was a shinobi for fuck's sakes. The D-class missions were far better than the hell he was currently in. Seeing as he was finished with his exam, the teacher wouldn't give a shit if he left. He stood and left for the halls, and for a while he just wandered. Uzumaki-san. Someone behind him said. It was Sona Citri, another devil that Rias had mentioned that was here in the school. She was dressed in the academy uniform with the ever so short skirt. Sona adjusted her glasses as she peered at him. Another figure who thought he had authority over him. Are you skipping class again? Kinda, it was an exam. He shrugged. A sigh, disappointment marred her face. I can't imagine you ever finishing early. It's preposterous. In fact, I escort you to some. Naruto walked away and paid no attention to her again, and she trailed off. It was just a reminder how far he'd fallen. Ugh, just a visit home would be great. Sona caught up to him. Being a student, you should know that you're expected. What are you going to do, Sona? Give detention. We both know I'm not going to do that. Do me a favor and suspend me or kick me out. Naruto laughed. Give a shout out to Rias for me, will ya? How rude. She said, I demand that you stop these games. Games? He chuckled. The only person who can demand anything of me is Rias. Because you know, slave things. She's the only reason why I'm in this school in the first place. Sona didn't say anything other than a frown as she walked off with her head held high. If only he had music. Naruto continued to walk through the halls like he belonged here, with no teacher to bother him. He heard someone else walking down the hall that he paid no attention to, at least not until there was a tap on his shoulder. Naruto turned around to see the short Aritid girl that he was chained to. Oh god, he flinched. You're skipping class too. It was Rias again. She smiled. But of course, I finished my exams too. Damn, why did I expect you to finish last? She laughed. Well, maybe we're closer than we think. He snorted. That'd be a bummer. A question formed on my lips, so why are you bothering me now when you barely did before now? Thanks to you, I don't have to worry about myself anymore. The Gremmery are known to be caring to their peerages, and I want to keep that reputation. Even if I'm an asshole to you. Especially you. Naruto stretched his arms and had a feel of the dress shirt and vest. It was not as comfortable compared to some of the stuff he wore, but it was better than the school uniform. It is not something he would wear often. Rias started to hum to herself, her gaze locked into a mirror on the coffee table as she applied lipstick. Naruto could have made some derogatory comment, but nothing came to mind. It was still there, the need, but the thought lacked. What was the use anyway? Try as he might to make Rias feel like she was nothing more than acid on his tongue, it didn't work. She took all his words, all of it, filtered it clean through, and turned it into a smile and appreciative eyes. What a weirdo. Seriously. Part of the fun of it all was seeing the reaction. Why did she have to be so selfish? He missed the old good times, the simple old good times, the fun old good times when any comment affected her. Now she was just a punching bag. That smiled at him. Hope she was happy, she ruined what little fun he could have. What are we doing again? He asked. Whatever it was, he was going along with it. Rias adjusted her tight red dress. It was strapless and, well, he didn't realize how great it looked until he saw it. Strapless looked magnificent. Perhaps it was the bare shoulders, the lack of bra straps, or the cleavage, maybe it was the size, it was all of it. Thankfully, Rias didn't notice. He hoped so. I asked my brother to help you with your devil piece, and in turn, he asked the creator of the evil pieces to help out. This party is just an excuse to find what might be wrong with it. He paused in his buttoning of his vest and looked at her, long red hair now swept aside as she attached an earring. It seemed she was serious. What else would she do? She didn't have to do anything. If she could get this devil piece out of him, he would be grateful. But even then, no use thinking about it, not when he couldn't get the answer by himself. This wasn't his specialty. A visit home would be nice. Is that it? He asked. Naruto held out a formal jacket to inspect. He was in formal wear, but not the type he was familiar with, but what they called Western wear. He placed it back on the couch. He went without shoes, as he preferred his sandals. So maybe it ruined his image a bit, he might change it. Still, dressing up was a bit fun. It was interesting to see the different cultures around this world and their beliefs, television, and the internet. Well, formally, it's a celebration for you winning the rating game for me. My brother just used that as an excuse to have a party. He noticed a frown. What's wrong with him? Naruto hasn't met her brother yet. Though, he was at the rating game and he saw the similarity. Rias gave a stilted laugh. Oh, nothing. He's just overbearing. Which might be putting it mildly. Oh. He picked up the light blue tie that was on the couch. Before he placed it back down, Naruto saw her stand from the single of Esied and drop down to the seat beside him. Do you know how to tie that? She asked, her eyes still bright as ever. No, why do you think I never wear the one on the uniform? I thought it was your preference. It is. You should wear it. She said and picked up the tie laying between them. It will bring out your eyes. Can it do that? Of course. With what? Magic. Rias laughed. Nothing like that, it's just a shade lighter than yours. I don't get it. He stood up to put some distance between them. It didn't work as she followed, tie in hand. Let me try and put it on you. She said. He frowned as she swung the tie behind his neck. He could smell her perfume and he realized she was as tall as him. Her soft hand weaved some loops before she let go and admitted with a little smile, actually, I don't know how to tie one either. I don't blame you. You're not a guy. Why did you try? I thought it was easy. It shouldn't be too hard. He grabbed a hold of it and tried to tie it together. How does it look? Terrible. Oh yeah? You just gave up. Then I'll try again. Rias hurried to the kitchen table, grabbed a magazine and flipped through the pages as she made her way back. And do it right. She showed him a page. He didn't see what the magazine was about, but the pictures on the page illustrated how to tie several knots. It seemed complicated, but she was determined to tie it for him, unwilling to hand it over. Okay, you're trying too hard. But you tried for me. She replied sternly. Really, this is nothing. Did she have to be so dramatic? He sat down on the couch and watched the television. Though she was right, this was nothing. Okay, I got it, I think. Get up please. Oh yes, sure, of course master, but you or whatever. Rias paused, blues bored into him. Her voice was nothing more than a yearned whisper that escaped through her trembling lips. Please, anything but that, anything. The sincerity was impossible to miss, like a lightning-covered hand that pierced his chest. Yes, it was that obvious, trust him, he experienced it firsthand. Suddenly, he was very unsure on how to act. Well, okay. He muttered. He tripped over his words. What the hell? This was different, far from her usual reaction, and when he hadn't even for it in the first place. Her eyes brightened with a tender smile. Thank you, it's not like never mind. He wasn't sure what he was going to say. Rias remained silent as her hands grasped a tie and wrapped it around his neck once again. A concentrated look appeared on her features and she occasionally looked aside on the pictures to follow its directions. There, all done. She tightened it and he loosened it. She stepped back and he did too. You look handsome. Of course. How about me, how do I look? Rias stepped backwards and clasped her hands behind her back, it enunciated her chest. Okay I guess. She looked spectacular, but he wasn't going to admit that to her. She frowned, sighed, and sat down. Naruto sat back on the couch and watched some television. You should complete contracts, it will help you in the future. Rias suggested. Naruto rolled his eyes. I'm not in the slightest bit interested in that, Rias. There's no use in trying, so don't bring it up. It was a nice silence, but he saw her staring at the corner of his vision. He twitched when she didn't stop, even when he looked at her. What? Is there something that matters? Why? Her lips pursed. It's just you're not being as asshole-ish. Usually with me. Nice save. And besides, you're not even reacting anymore. What's the point? He caught her staring by the corner of his vision, her eyes closed by the intensity of her beaming face. Then he realized how she might take it. She didn't say anything for a long while, until, of course, she did. You know, there's a soft heart inside you. I'm thinking, don't push it. She tried to hide her smile, but it was done half-heartedly. But really, is there something that I can do? They were things she should know, but he wasn't sure she could do anything much that someone else could do. No. He wondered if she knew or if it was things left unsaid. For now, he would play the slave and she would play the master. Some party this was, sure, the food was great, no ramen. But it was filled with people he didn't like. He didn't even bother to remember their names either. He wanted to limit the number of devils that he would meet, so he kept in a corner with Ria's peerage. Rias handed him a drink and he eyed it suspiciously. Drink it, it's good. He took a sniff, some type of juice that he couldn't recognize. He shrugged and took a sip anyway. It was, as she said, delicious. Golden eyes watched him. Blank, unamused. Naruto had noticed that it was the same look. Emotionless. Dead eyes that beckoned him into the dark cave. Do you say anything at all? Naruto muttered before the thought even finished. Judging by the spark of fire in her eye, Kaneko was not. Asshole. Was the word she said. Just the one. His eyes twitched. Other than that, he was stared at as Kaneko devoured a large cookie. She pointed at Issei. He's a degenerate pervert. Issei whined. Are you hungry, Uzumaki-kun? Rias asked. I could eat more, is there ramen? No. What the hell? But ramen isn't. I'll stop you right there. You like ramen then? I'll keep that in mind. Good luck with that. Naruto leaned back against the couch. He doubted that she would ever surpass the masterpieces that were Tuchi's ramen. But is it true that you make bentos for senpai? Issei asked. Yes, why? She replied. You're so lucky, senpai. Naruto crossed his arms once again as he regarded Issei's reaction. Why wouldn't the guy get into his head about Rias? He glanced at the redhead. What kind of company do you keep? She blinked at him. You're a part of it too. What a bunch of losers. Yeah, I'm surrounded by idiots, everyone. Shut up, Kurama. Go back to sleep. Why? This is interesting to me too. Plus, I want to witness. Kurama trailed off ominously and inside, he grinned. Witness what? You'll see. Someone tried to talk to him in the real world. Am I a loser too, Uzumaki-kun? Akeno asked. A little less maybe. He cleared his throat. He focused on the peerage huddled together in the corner. Where is Kiba anyway? Like Kiba? Issei laughed. Naruto's eyes twitched. Hey Issei, Rias tied my tie and said I was handsome. Did she do that to you? And no. Issei teared up. Naruto would have the last laugh. Don't laugh, but you. Rias was doing a terrible job at trying to hide her smile, but she didn't laugh. I'm sorry, but as for my other night, he said he wasn't feeling too well. She frowned. Whatever problem they had, it was theirs to deal with. The conversation went into small talk. Until the moment someone who resembled Rias approached. My little Ria-tan. How are you? So, this is the savior of my little sister. Naruto looked up from his drink, crimson hair and a smile on his face. Ria's brother, he was certain. Several devils around them glanced at him before going back to their business. Ria-tan. Naruto muttered. Rias returned his glance with an uncomfortable smile. And yeah, I'm Naruto. Surzich's Lucifer. Oh cool. For now, how about we converse somewhere privately? Surzich's gave a nod to Rias. She commanded the others to stay put and they walked away as Rias tugged on his sleeve for him to follow. They exited the main hall of the party and through a couple of sets of doors until they entered another large room in his large mansion. Ria-tan told me that you have some problems with your evil piece. Lucifer replied. Gone was the almost carefree air, replaced by a smooth professionalism. Huh. I sure do. I have to be near her at all times, mostly. Sometimes I can be further away, but I haven't really tried how far. Interesting. Usually, this process only lasts several weeks, or at least until they can control that power. As far as I'm concerned, some months are abnormally long. What would happen if it's removed? He asked. Removing pieces is difficult to accomplish, often, it ends in the death of the holder. Naruto appeared in his seal, then again, that grin Kurama had. Well, wad you know, that's familiar. Kurama hummed, I don't think it's as violent as what happened to me. I remember how much it hurt that it made me pass out. I think the question that's more important to you is, would you still be a devil? Another would be what would happen if he did remove it. Naruto turned away from Kurama and focused on the world around him. Ria's brother spoke to him again, would you kindly show that yellow orb you displayed at the rating game? Sure. A yellow Rasengan formed in the palm of his hand. Interesting. The man had a curious look in his eye and Naruto knew the next question. How about demonic energy? Rias glanced at him with her greenish blue eyes. Rias knew that he had another type of energy, it was the reason he was turned into a devil after all. He had never explained the specifics of his power or the extent of it. I can't, no matter how hard I try. Can you try it for me? I guess. Naruto closed his eyes, focusing on what they called demonic energy. It took a long time. Yellow surrounded him, a familiar presence of that power, tinges of red would be seen throughout, occasionally melding together with the yellow. Naruto stared at the unfamiliar alien little black ball that floated within this entire aura. He supposed this would be a representation of the mixture of power. Two he was familiar with and many others that belonged to the tailed beasts and sage. It was his to use. Of course, the black bowl was something he had no clue on how to use. Isolated and unfamiliar. It mirrored everything around it and he stared at it. This thing did not belong. Naruto hesitantly reached out and halted a breath away. Then he touched it and the result was immediate. Naruto stumbled but instead of falling to the ground, someone caught him. It was Rias. Her blue eyes filled with concern. He felt his erratic heartbeat and his throat felt dry. He moved away from her and she stepped closer. "I'm fine." He spat and she stepped back. It wasn't as bad as before, but it was not a great feeling. He tried to calm his heart with calm deep breaths. Nothing worked but it would pass eventually. Surzich's placed a contemplative hand to his chin and he was silent in contemplation. "That power is unfamiliar to me and I fancy myself as having witnessed all forms of power. We can't discount the fact it may play a part. Riatan. Please fetch some water for the young man, he looks thirsty." Rias looked at them both before she walked off. "It's definitely the reason why she might have resurrected you." "I needed no resurrection." Naruto replied. Surzicha smiled and hummed. "Regardless of what you both think, Rias wanted me to try and help you. She is very concerned about you." Naruto frowned. "Ah, sorry, she just wanted me to be serious about this. To do whatever it took to help you. Well, I saw the concern and I made a promise, and a promise between siblings is not one I take lightly. Words to be kept." "I get it. I'll say something, but I also want Rias to be here too." "Ah, don't misconstrue, she didn't want any of this said. I'm saying this out of concern for my sister." "I understand completely." Naruto replied. The bond of a sibling, even if Naruto didn't have a blood brother, he knew. Eyes bored into him and he nodded. "I also wanted to take this chance to thank you for getting my sister out of that marriage." "Oh yeah? Do it again when I'm not around." His eyes widened. It sounds like my dear sister has a road ahead of her." The door opened once again and Rias walked in with a glass of water. He took the glass without saying a word and drank it until it ran dry. "Rias, I'm sure you noticed, haven't you?" Naruto said he felt his teeth grit together. "With my fight with Riser." Rias flinched when he shattered the glass in his hands, a shard in his hand. Since one of his arms was a prosthetic made from the first Hokage's cells, bandaged to hide the white skin. The other, however, was his own flesh and blood. "Not that I think I'm special or anything." He gripped the broken shard and he watched her eyes widen, the panicked look on her face as she shouted out what he was doing. He slashed his arm, it was painful, but it was nothing new. Blood dripped from his wound, a messy gash ran down his arm. "Aw, you fucking idiot." He felt Kurama's chakra run through, a yellow glow encased around his arm until it was spotless. "There was no need," Naruto said. He couldn't look at her, she didn't need to know anything more. He passed by her and went through the door. "And you accused her of being dramatic." "Kurama, shut up." "It was nothing." "Yeah, it was nothing, but still stupid to do." "What's with this anyways?" "I already know how this will end because I know Naruto Uzumaki and you also know how it goes." He didn't reply. Ria's gremmery filtered through the crowd, some congratulated on her first victory, which annoyed her to an extent because she wanted to find someone, it only slowed her down. Her eyes swept across the crowd, it should have been easy, but it was harder than she thought. Rias took a deep breath to calm the shakiness in her breath. Her hands rubbed together in a nervous manner. She searched the crowd again before she found who she had been looking for. This should help, hopefully. "Hello, darling." Her mother smiled before it faded. "Is there something that matters? I wanted to ask for some advice." Suddenly a wide smile appeared. "Oh, has my dear daughter finally found a boy to love?" "What?" "No, it's something pretty much the opposite of that. Can we move somewhere private?" Other than her wide eyes, she gave a nod. They had to cross the crowd again and it took a while as they had been repeatedly stopped once again by the guests. They entered a dining room that was empty. "What is it, dear?" Rias crossed her arms, unable to find the start of it all. She settled on just explaining all of it. When she found Naruto in a crater, his stomach opened, a knife clutched in his hand. His weak whispers, her explanations, and his denial to that solution. That's where it all started, sometime before school had started. "So, it is boy trouble then," Venelana Gremory giggled. Rias frowned. "If you want to put it that way, it's just a joke, dear." "So, is there any way you can help?" Rias asked, her gaze hopeful. "Do you like him?" "What? Do you like him?" Rias noticed the rather serious gaze from her mother. A bit I guess, he helped me win the rating game." Her mother gave a little sigh, a scolding tone to her voice. "From what you've told me, he is not a nice person, especially not towards my daughter. He's actually not that bad." "Oh, defending him. Of course, he's a part of my peerage and I know him a bit." Rias replied, her mother waited patiently for her to continue. Uzumaki-kun helped me in the rating game, he says that he did it for himself, but I'd like to think he also did it to help me. He also calls me Rias, and I even asked him to when he called me by another, and he didn't stop. There's a lot of small things too. It's just complicated with him. Her mother sighed, then, if he's like that, it sounds like he's frustrated. He's getting to know you better. For now, I think it's better if you leave him alone for a little while, especially what happened today. Perhaps, let him make the next move to talk to you. She tried to relax at the party, but the constant image of Naruto slashing his arm, crimson blood spilling out, and his features unaffected. His arm erupting in golden light was at the forefront of her mind before she watched it heal together. It didn't happen that quickly when she encountered him. But you okay? Akeno asked. Oh, just Uzumaki-kun. Have you talked with him at all? A little, he can be funny when he wants to. Akeno smiled. Where is he anyway? He's with my brother and the creator of the evil pieces. Rias then told her of what happened earlier. Which, she regretted doing, considering her preferences. Akeno gave a shiver and she wet her lips. I hope you won't mind if I borrow him, or maybe, I can come over. You'll have to ask him, I want to give him space. But you, that face you're making, are you a little jealous? I'm appreciative of what he did, but I don't love him. Rias replied. I never said anything about love. Rias gave a deep frown at her best friend, and all she did was giggle. A resounding cling-clang of glass lightly striking against another was heard. Up ahead, the familiar sight of blonde hair and whiskered cheeks was on display for everyone to see. This should be interesting. Akeno said in anticipation. Oh no. Rias said, as she moved forward. Whatever was going to happen, it wasn't good. She heard Naruto clear his throat and began to speak. I'm about to say some truths, and whatever the reaction will tell me everything. Hello slavers, I'm sure all you are having a wonderful night, because I'm sure I'm not. I'm a knight of Rias Gremory, and you all suck. This peerage crap is just some lame attempt to hide. Rias finally reached him and yanked him off the steps he was on. She felt her face flush with heat. A gnawing feeling in her stomach. Took you long enough. Naruto said. Rias heard the murmurs of disapproval, some of the anger laced in the devil's words. She didn't look anyone in the eye as she passed through the crowd. Suddenly, her brother stood in front, his eyes with a hard look. Surziches frowned and gazed at them both. I think it's best if you return home for now. I'll have your peerage returned after this mess. He sped past without another look. Rias and Naruto stepped out of the glyph and into the apartment they shared. Why did you do that? Naruto brow raised. Is that a question or is that a command? Either way it's obvious. He crossed his arms and shifted his weight. She sighed, it was true, she was just flustered. You can say all you want to me, but leave everyone else out of it. Naruto stared blankly at her for a long moment, a stifling silence. He did not say anything, he did not give any indication of a yes. All he did was knock off his footwear and untie his tie and leave for his room. Wait, Rias voiced. What did you find out? Naruto didn't say a word. He wasn't sure if it was a good week or if it was a bad one. Sure, the headphones were back and the sound was on another level than the last one. The only interaction he had with Rias or the others in the past week was him handing over his perfect marks over the last exam to Rias. She had a hopeful look when he had approached, but it only told her that he was owed a pair of headphones. After what he had pulled a couple days prior to that, he had expected a fierce denial, but she relented, saying how she was impressed and bought him the pair he had desired. There had been little said between him and the others. He spoke to Issei a couple of times and even to Akeno once. Other than that, he had no other interaction with Rias' peerage. Rias hadn't initiated any conversations with him at all since their return from that party. It made sense that she was angry. Here he was, holed up in his room in Rias' apartment. He had found a console earlier this week attached with a cheap price sold by an angry mother while a child sobbed quietly behind the door. It was a steal, so he bought it anyway, besides someone else would buy it and he had to do something to pass the time. Just as he is about to teach that little prick boss who's the actual boss around here, a seal activates on his prosthetic arm. That momentary lapse in concentration spelled you died. Bullshit. It seemed Rias was always involved in his displeasures lately. He had only told her to use it in emergency situations, so it better be one. Naruto ran to the door to put on his sandals. He closed his eyes and concentrated on the seal, another couple of deep breaths, and he performed the technique. What the hell is going on? Naruto said. Naruto looked at his surroundings. They were at the school, and the surrounding field had holes and other debris. Senpai, when did you get here? Issei asked. He ignored him in favor of whatever mess he got into. There were a lot of people he didn't know, 2 chicks in tight suits, 1 fallen angel with too many pairs of wings, and some other unimportant people. He was missing a lot of context and he didn't really care about it either. He wanted little to do with this crap. Naruto picked up a small piece of paper folded into a ninja star and handed it back to Rias. Uzumaki-kun, I don't suppose you can fight this person. I hope so. Rias said. Everyone looked in a state of distress, some scratched clothing, some small craters littered the grass, and Ria's barrier had been placed around the school that glowed red. They hadn't fought long, that was clear. Another filthy devil joins the fray. You brought another one to die, how thoughtful of you, Gremory. Naruto gazed back at Rias, an uncertain look in her blues before he stared at the fallen angel floating in the sky. You're the one who did all this. Of course, my name, I don't care about your name. Just go away. The fallen angel laughed, you'll be the first fatality in this new war of mine. Oh. Those types of people, coupled with the attitude. This would be neat. I mean, if you're having trouble with high school students, I don't think you're that impressive, what would everyone think? He noticed the wild look in his eye, the dark emotions hidden within this fallen angel. The fallen angel growled. You would be wrong, you little maggot, I've only been toying with them. There's no use in utilizing my full power. Oh, yeah, the whole I was only pretending to be weak is so much better. Your sass has only gotten better since you've arrived here. Kurama chuckled. He had to thank Rias for that. The fallen angel whose name Naruto didn't catch or even care for growled again. I'll show you. This place will be nothing but a crater. A spear of light formed in his hand. Oh cool, almost like the lightning spear in that game. Then it grew, and Naruto had to credit the guy a bit. He had a little bite to add to the talk. Whoever you are, that won't be happening. You made the biggest mistake, you see, the only one allowed to hurt Ria's Gremory would be me. You get to do that kinky stuff too. Issei muttered. Now's not the time, you perv. Naruto could make an even stronger technique. Oh, but there was no need to be so juvenile anymore, besides, he didn't want to kill the guy. This was the reason why he learned his father's technique in the first place. Some subtlety was needed, at least, that's what Kakashi said to him once. Naruto removed the bandages on his hand to reveal the white prosthetic underneath, but more importantly, for a seal to be visible on the palm of his hand. Oh, flaunt your power somewhere else. He raised his hand toward the fallen angel, and a barrier appeared in front of Naruto. What did his dad call it? It was something complicated, thunder god guiding something. Close enough. It was cool, but it was too complicated to remember. The fallen angel threw his spear and encountered Naruto's technique and swallowed it whole, like it never existed in the first place. He knew the answer already, somewhere in the middle of the vast empty desert back at his dimension. The fallen angel had a look of utter shock when his spear was made null. That was his cue. Naruto utilized Kurama's chakra and shot up to where the fallen angel flew. Naruto hammered down Kurama's fist. The man choked on his scream as he was sent down into the earth below. Naruto raced down below in the crater that was formed. Before the fallen angel could move, he grabbed the person with and encased him in Kurama's chakra so he couldn't escape easily. He was still conscious, and Naruto ignored the various insults that he made. He'd been called worse by people in online games. I don't really want to know what's going on, but is it over? He said. I want to go back home. Thanks for watching my video, leave a like if you enjoyed my video, and also do consider subscribing to my channel for more awesome content. See you next time, till then sayonara.